Oh, I guess I'll start the recording here. I don't know if I just boot straight to it or not. Omen site options graphics. Yeah, give me some anti-aliasing.
Once upon a time, the infamous rover Reynardo plundered the floating isles. Then his mother called him to her deathbed. "Swear to me that you won't die on the gallows," she rasped. Reluctantly, he swore. And he whiled away his days at home with music, cards, and wine. But the Emperor had changed. He'd been good once, a shy, almost humble toad. He'd built universities. Then people started whispering about mass graves in the woods, midnight rituals, victims screaming. The Imperial Ravens would round up entire villages, and no one ever returned. The Ravens had come to Ubar scouting for ancient books said to be of great power. But the librarians had hidden the books, so they'd burnt the librarians. The citizens, outraged, had driven them off. The Ravens had come back with dropships. The kid had fled with one of those books. He was brave and dumb and wanted to join the rebellion. And Reynardo had promised his mother he'd protect him. The kid was looking down, watching his city burn. "Sorry, kid," Reynardo told the kid. "Look, if we give them the book, they'll leave you alone." "My mother died for this book!" "I promised her I'd protect you." "Oh, damn it." The kid had run off. With the book, of course. So Reynardo had to run after him. The two Ravens were staring at the kid like he was their dinner, which probably was what was in their tiny brains. "Hey," Reynardo said. They cocked their heads at him. "Pick on someone as ugly as you." Wait, that didn't come out right. "For the Emperor!" The Ravens cawed and rushed at him. Dropship flew overhead. He hoped they hadn't noticed him. The kid. Oh, right. The Gate of Heroes. Someone's idea of a joke. Making the Skyship docks a gated community. You needed a hero's sword to open it. And the kid was on the other side of the gate. "Who let you through? Promise me you'll take the book to the rebels, or I'm gonna steal your ship." "I'm not taking that damn book anywhere, and neither are you." "Try and stop me," laughed the kid. "I bet you don't even have a hero sword." And with that, the kid hopped away. Had to hand it to the kid. He was an idiot, but he had guts. Where was Reynardo going to get a hero sword? Ore and wind essence? Perfect. Hero sword. QED.
Oh,
This is what he
crafting.
got for settling down and finding people to care about. The kid's mum had been a swell cook, and she laughed at Renado's jokes, even when he didn't know he'd made one. And then the ravens had come to burn her, and she'd made him promise to protect the kid. But she never told him where the book was, just the kid. He came up to a ledge. It was too far to jump. There'd been a bridge here before, hadn't there? And there was Peter, giggling at him. "How'd you get across?" he asked the kid. "Where'd you find a hook?" "I hopped," said the kid. Wise-ass kid. "Hey, look out behind you!" "Cute," said Renato. Ah, ravens. It was time to talk some sense into the kid. Just hook his way across the ledge and chase the kid down. Thing was, he hadn't used his hook since he'd retired. How had he done it? Maybe if he meditated at that altar there, he'd remember his old skills. It was starting to come back to him. Something you never completely forgot.
I now
How
hook.
to freeze time when
Because
attacking.
like, what a hook.
The more he fought, the more he'd probably remember. And there was the Farfarer. She was the fastest ship he'd ever known. She could do the Kester run in 12 furlongs. Oh, so the salesman had told him. And something told him the kid was about
Really?
to walk into
Stolen
an ambush.
records.
"Stop!" he shouted. "I'm not giving you the book!" shouted the kid, and took off. "No! Peter!" The kid ran for it, and a goggler nailed him with its ivy. The book was unburned. Next to it were the buckles from the kid's shoes and a kid-sized pile of ashes. Damn it. Why hadn't he
no.
lied and told the kid he'd take the book to the rebels? The kid would be alive now. Really pissed off and betrayed, but alive. Oh, damn it. Renato picked up the book. He couldn't let the Empire have it now. He was going to have to get it out of there. He'd be a wanted man. Probably have to join the rebellion just to have a place to dock. Well, he'd hated home life anyway. What was the big deal about this book anyway? Maybe he should open it and find out. All that had been years ago. How many? The war was a blur, and now 3 Raven scout ships were chasing him. "Where are you running, rebel?" cawed the Raven captain over the loud hailer. Renato could see them cranking up their catapults. "Just
To
going out
your
for
mom,
milk,"
why?
Renato yelled back. "Where can you run?" laughed the Raven horribly. Far behind him, another city was burning. The dark cloud above its island was thousands of Imperial ships. The fleet was doing a thorough job. "Take us to the rebel base, and we'll spare your life!" it called. The entire jury-rigged rebel fleet was only a few islands to the east. Beyond that were only the pillars of heaven, a sea of endless blood-colored tornadoes. The rebellion was out of time, unless Renato could bring a game-changer. Maybe he could. Renato had found out where he could find the pieces of the Sky Ripper, the legendary weapon that had exiled the lost gods. Surely a legendary weapon could win the final battle. On the other hand, his old friend Lapino had sent Renato a desperate message saying he had a brilliant scheme to save the rebellion. If Renato could only rescue him. Renato dived the Farfarer towards the abyss. As he felt the heat of the jet stream, the Raven ships peeled off, not stable enough to follow him down there. Now it was time to choose. Lapino or the Sky Ripper? Every child knew about the Sky Ripper. The Transcendent Emperor
What does
had
the
buried its
fox
pieces.
choose?
What could have brought them to light? This Emperor, Isengrim III, had once been kind, but he'd gone mad. And now he was conducting secret, obscene rituals to bring back the lost gods. Had he, somehow, summoned the long-lost components of the legendary weapon out of the deep places of the earth? It was more than Renato could fathom. But if he could find a legendary weapon, he would use it. As he set foot in the
whole
island,
gimmick of this game is you
Renato could not help but
get to
feel a
choose
tinge
where you
of
want to go, and then
guilt.
I think it resets.
He'd left Lapino
I
behind.
played this way back when
He hoped the Mad Rabbit had somehow
on
escaped the
PS
Raven.
Plus.
He hoped they
You
hadn't
did it, and then
eaten
like some first and it resets you to do something else.
He hoped they hadn't eaten him alive. Why had he chosen the Sky Ripper? Renato never made plans that required constant vigilance. He was a hero. He didn't think too much. He just went with his gut and hoped it all worked out. The Sky Ripper was a long shot. He'd have to devote himself to it. No side journeys, no rescuing old friends. That was against his nature. Could he stick with it?
Also meaning the
If
old.
he ever had a castle, he was going to hide his stuff better.
Whoa, wind essence.
Who needed bridges anyway?
It's 30 all that I needed. In it.
Sleep tight, thought Renato.
Wrong sword.
The people who had built this castle, did they even know what monstrous weapon lay hidden within their walls? The Sky Ripper could destroy anything it touched, or so the legend said. As the Transcendent Emperor had fought the lost gods, thousands had died. But Renato had been through wars. The only merciful war was a short one.
More health. And more sword magic. Run faster, max stamina, more stamina.
your sword. Ice wall. Ice cube. Renado's blood was up. He just needed to smash something.
No, I can't go back. Boo. So I guess make the other weapons before I upgrade the hero sword. Because then obviously when I have to repeat some things, I can at least open up all the doors.
Two eyes good. One eye dead.
Also I can see out of the map.
Have you ever felt you're just going round in circles?
No.
Renado felt like that.
Nice achievement. Didn't mean to do that before.
Puzzle. Renato loved puzzles. Except when he couldn't figure them out. On the other hand, if there was a puzzle, it was probably meant to keep people away from something good. That was new. Most people still use doorknobs.
You calling me a knob? That's the way forward.
starting to come back to him. Something you never completely forgot, like how to freeze time when attacking. The more he fought, the more he'd probably remember. There it was. Skyripper's armature.
Be careful and finish level without taking damage from start to finish.
Engineer's dreams, anyway. The device was intricate. No one alive had the skill to make a thing like it. How was it part of a weapon at all? He'd have to ask a scientist. But first, he'd get the second piece. Skyripper had a heart. A core that had come to rest on the next island. Well, there was another island he could reach. Zenobia had just invaded it with her father's Raven battalions. She must be encamped there still. But fighting Zenobia now, that made no sense at all. He'd already sacrificed one friend to get this armature, was it? He didn't need to hurry to face her. She would find him. It was a no-brainer. He'd sacrificed his old friend Lapino to get the armature. And the armature was useless by itself, only a series of coils and wheels. War demanded sacrifices, and he would make more before the end. He would have to choose the greatest good, no matter how much it cost him. Zenobia. Well, he would see her sooner or later, across a battlefield or a sword's point before all this was over. He was sure of that. The power was in the core. Obviously, he had to get the core. Doubt sunk in before he was even out of sight of the Farfarer. Why had he chosen the Skyripper? It was the sort of path he'd always avoided. The path of responsibility, of seriousness. Had he grown up? He didn't feel grown up. He'd made this decision from his gut, like he always did. Somehow, he'd impulsively decided to stop being impulsive. Did that make any sense? Had the Transcendent Emperor actually called his weapon the Skyripper? Seemed a bit grandiose, didn't it? I wonder what I could make with all these sword crafting materials, thought Renard. There was something sour in the air. Like the earth had ruptured over something that had been fermenting for a very long time. fewer and fewer trees. There were only these huge crystalline growths. Had those been here before? He no longer heard birds except for the feverish cawing of the ravens when they attacked. He couldn't smell the small animals of the forest, the mice and rabbits. Where had they gone? And he was getting hungry too. This was an unhealthy place to be. He'd missed his old skills. He welcomed them back like it was at a reunion. Let's do this again sometime. The 20-sided core made him feel physically sick. Once he had sneaked into a temple of the dark art and he hadn't liked what he smelt and saw there. This felt like that. As quick as he could, he wrangled the icosahedron into the armature. The wheels began to spin, then glow. The sick feeling quickly spun away. Now he only felt sad. He had lost good friends for this war apparatus. He carried his prize back to the Farfarer. Now he had to make his next move. There was a key Imperial outpost on the Nexus. If this really was some sort of super weapon, he could use it to wreak havoc on the enemy. And if it wasn't, well, better to know that before the final battle. But maybe he should show it to some scientists first. There was an observatory on the Nexus. Maybe he should go there before he fired it. Renato had never been much of a student. At Sword Fu School, he'd never read the books, just looked at the pictures. And Zenobia. But weapons he understood. His gut told him that the Sky Ripper would work great. He would use it to take out the Imperial outpost. And what's the worst that could happen? The thing wouldn't work, and then he'd take it to the scientists. Right? Exactly. As he set out down the path, Renato wondered why the parts of the Sky Ripper had only surfaced now, thousands of years after the Transcendent Emperor had discarded it. This Emperor, Isengrim III, had performed terrible, bloodthirsty rituals to invoke the lost gods. Perhaps that was bringing up lost artifacts. How perfect, then, that the Sky Ripper would reappear to be his destruction. He wished there were more pylons he could use the hook on. They really needed to construct additional pylons. was tired of slaughtering ravens. Maybe it was time to test out the new weapon. He turned a knob on the Sky Ripper. It made strange mechanical noises. The wheels spun faster. It began to hum. The Sky Ripper was following his every step. At least it acknowledged him as the master. But there was no trigger. How was he supposed to fire it? Fire, he said. Nothing happened. Well, maybe it just needed to warm up. After all, it hadn't been fired in thousands of years. Renato had never met a weapon without a trigger or a handle. How did this thing work? When Renato went to the china shop, for some reason the owner was always nervous. Hey, I'm a firefox, thought Renato. The Sky Ripper was making a whining noise now, and its wheels were spinning so fast he could no longer see them. Renato had a thought. Please? He asked. The Sky Ripper began to glow. Boom! The outpost burst into flame. Ravens flapped out screaming, wings on fire. The base was his. The far speaker toad came hopping out. Renato! It croaked, sounding like a toad version of Zenobia.
Don't use the Sky Ripper. It will destroy the world.
Yeah, sure it will, cracked Renato. Pull the other one.
If you don't trust me, go see Calaveras.
That sounded sensible. Why did she always have to sound sensible all the time? Oh, it was infuriating. Of course she would say that. He was supposed to hurry and bring the Sky Ripper to the council so the rebels could actually win the war. But what if she was right? Damn it. Just this once, he would not let Zenobia get into his head with her logic and her wisdom and her appeals to reason. He was a fox. He'd go with his instincts, and it would all work out like it always did. Oh, he was sounding like a reckless idiot even to himself. But if there was one thing Renato could never bring himself to do, it was turn back on a decision he'd made. Imperials were flapping and cawing all around the ruins. They must be panicking with rumors flying of the superweapon. Maybe they hoped to find and destroy the base before he could put the Sky Ripper into action. The Sky Ripper was whining and heating up. It would be time to use that energy soon. This was way better than being able to shrink down to the size of an ant. What was that all about anyway? It was a bit windy up here. was a fantastic weapon. Ravens burst into flames with just a touch of its killer beam. He was tempted to leave it on all the time, but he didn't want to accidentally slice off some council toad's head or tongue. She'd been trying to distract him. Well, this time, no one was going to distract him. Hey, why don't you guys fight in groups? Oh, I know, because there's no I in team. Stairs. So he was close to the rebel base. Nothing was on fire. So far, so good. Ice walls only let you through if they knew you were cool. As he headed towards the council chamber, Renato felt everyone watching him. "You've saved the rebellion," said the council speaker. "Frankly, we were afraid you'd turn aside to save that idiot Lapino." "If you never make sacrifices," he said, "you're probably not doing the right thing." The speaker nodded. "Are you ready to lead the charge?" "Let's roll," he said, with grim satisfaction. Renato set sail for the fleet. The Sky Ripper had lost its wine. It was humming now, as if it had taken some time to seat properly. He had always been irresponsible. This time, he'd done the right thing, made the hard decisions. He was a real hero. He hadn't let himself be distracted by old friends or old lovers turned enemies. Finally, he could be proud of himself. He was ready. So was Sky Ripper. The Sky Ripper had a will of its own. It picked out its own targets and set them on fire. This was going to be a short battle. He would set the ships on fire if he didn't need them to get to the Emperor. And he wondered if he'd see Zenobia, or if she'd flee. Wouldn't she be proud of him? At least a bit of respect. He'd become an all-conquering hero. Renato felt like he was ready to learn new things. Thank goodness he didn't have to go to school for that. felt a little better. Renato wondered if his future self had commissioned these poles. Just agree to disagree, said Renato. No? There was a parchment on a signpost. It was from her.
Every time you fire, you risk the destruction of the universe. That's insane. We surrender. A trick? Maybe she really believed it. He could hear horns blaring the retreat. Maybe it was true. Maybe they had one. Having a pet. Well, like having a goblin for a pet.
This was definitely better than pulling yourself up in a fight.
And there was Zenobia, wearing the white robes of surrender. She came and kneeled before him. Why didn't you listen to me? I was trying to save you too. You're the enemy, he said. I was never your enemy, Renato. Then she spoke a terrible word and made a gesture with her hand. She stopped moving, covered in frost, and he wondered why she'd frozen herself. Then the Sky Ripper froze, and then for a moment he felt very cold and discovered that he couldn't move. The next thing he knew, the sun was a giant, monstrously red. It took up half the sky, and he was in a parched red desert. And then he was on fire.
Okay, that was weird. He could have sworn he just died. Instead, he was on the Farfarer, sailing away from Ubar. And it was still burning. He'd fled burning Ubar years ago, hadn't he? And now he was back there. Had all those years fighting the Empire been nothing but a vision into the future? A useful vision if it was true. He'd learned something. Zenobia still had feelings for him. He'd made bad choices. But now, when the real battle came, he wouldn't make those choices. He wouldn't make the same mistake twice. The book's pages began to flip backwards, towards the beginning. And he realized that his adventure was just beginning. The clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to choose. The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting for the secret rebel base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced, or so a scholar in the mountains had told him. Surely the weapon that banished the lost gods could defeat the Emperor. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Emperor had brought the Sky Ripper pieces up out of ancient burial by his obscene rituals. Could this be where the Iblis stone was hidden? Someone better get it before he does, thought Renato. On the other hand, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Lapino was no game changer, but could Renato really leave an old friend to the Ravens? Ah, Lapino. Apparently, the Mad Rabbit had sold a Pegasus that he did not exactly own. Lapino always wiggled out of trouble, given time. But he was out of time. The Ravens had figured out that Lapino was a rebel spy. If the fleet reached him first, they'd string him up for that. Never mind the winged horse. Lapino had apparently managed to confuse the judge by arguing that he hadn't actually stolen a winged horse. He'd only sold it. Wait, where was the prison? The village was empty. Had everybody fled the Ravens? This sword from the frigid north was really useful for making popsicles and birdsicles.
Those two are very doors.
Had taken the town. Renato had seen villages emptied like this, all the people taken away to be sacrificed in the Emperor's secret rituals. Renato hoped the people were just hiding. Firewalls only let you through if they think you're hot enough. to do that. Whoa, personal space. Ravens were landing everywhere. The advance guard. He'd better get moving. If they got to Lupino first, they'd eat him for breakfast. Or a snack. Ravens weren't picky. If they got hungry, they sometimes forgot to interrogate their prisoners. Even top spies like Lupino. Where had the mad rabbit got to? He wasn't that good. Yet. Renato felt a chill run down his back. Or possibly a flea.
Oh, want magic? Like, we've got max magic, you're gonna give me more. Give me some health, man.
Dirty and bloody, Renato finally reached Lupino. The rabbit was practicing his shuffle. Renato recognized the cards. It was Lupino's favorite deck. Oh, I thought you were in danger. I am. The ravens are coming. Oh, the prison thing. Right, yeah, we see this guard owed me 53 ducats, so we made a deal. They're very reasonable people, actually, for weasels. Now, I got a brilliant plan to kidnap Zenobia. We capture Zenobia, we find out what she knows, and that's the whole war right there. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Capture the Emperor's greatest general, who happened to also be a deadly sorcerer, and, oh, his only daughter? That would be worth it. And it would be nice to see her. He'd always had a soft spot for her. And he felt sure she had one for him. On the other hand, he could still get to the core of the Sky Ripper, even if he couldn't get the whole thing. It must have great power. Zenobia wasn't just
Why don't I just say
Emperor's
triangle?
daughter, of course. She'd been Renato's best friend in sword fu school. And you're still mad for her. The rabbit reminded him. The rabbit had a point. And Renato had a feeling she'd want to see him again. Who knows what could happen between the two of them this time around? She knows all his plans, chuckled the master spy. She won't give them up easily. She'll tell the interrogators, all right, said Lupino. Taking her would change the game, all right. The city was already under Zenobia's control. I had to admire her efficiency. Renato shivered at the thought of Zenobia at the mercy of the interrogators. Could he really turn her over to them? But this was war. It wasn't meant to be pretty. What could he craft with the materials he had? Renato had
Nothing.
a pretty good idea, actually.
I mean, if I get enough ore to buy an upgrade or something, then I will do, but a bare minimum. Also, I want to hold enough, so when I can buy the other sword straight away, then I can do.
Renato felt new powers ready to blossom within him, or something. He blinked. So, what's this plan of yours? Use me as bait, said Lupino. And he outlined a slightly complicated plan that involved geese, a net, setting the Farfarer a little bit on fire, Lupino dressing as an old blind toad, and Renato hiding inside a monstrous watermelon.
Watermelon?
What could possibly go wrong? Thought Renato. Oh, go ahead. I'm sure you know better, said Lupino. Hey, a workbench! He could try out his new bling.
Oh, let's see if it makes sense. Wrong button, dickhead.
Renato slinked through Zenobia's ship, making no sound at all. Where were her guards? Finally, he reached her bedroom. She was curled up on her bed. Oh, he'd forgotten how beautiful she was. How sleek. How soft. He tapped her on the shoulder with his sword. She became smoke. And he noticed he had a blade to his throat. Stay a while. Heard a familiar voice. Did you really think you could capture me? Zenobia said as her ship lifted off. No, I just wanted some privacy, Renato said. Renato knew she still had feelings for him. Maybe he could just cut to the chase. But was timing right for that? I know how you feel about me, baby.
No, I'm good.
I know you want to be with me, Renato said. What? The Emperor's evil, babe. I'm nice. Remember how nice I was back in school? You were an idiot in school. You said I was funny, said Renato, starting not to like how the conversation was going. The Emperor pulled me out of an alley. Don't tell me he's evil. Yeah, but did you ever wonder why? No, I didn't. Why don't you ask him? Well, because I know why. He wants to sacrifice you. You can tell him that when he interrogates you. Can't we just start this over? But Zenobia shut him in the hold of the ship. He had no one to explain anything to until he was brought to the Emperor's interrogators. After that, it's just screaming.
I
He had tried
died.
something bold and paid the price for it.
Well,
The city was already under Zenobia's control. I had to admire her efficiency.
well.
Renato shivered at the thought of Zenobia at the mercy of the interrogators. Could he really turn her over to them?
Oh, you're gonna make me do the whole fucking level again? You piece of
He
fucking
wasn't meant to be
shit.
pretty.
Why would you let me do it again? Why not just say, we'll start that again, and then just let me choose one of the two options again? Obviously not choosing the top one. Why?
What's there?
I mean, I guess the only thing with this game would be nice if you could skip this fucking shit.
This plan of yours. Use me as bait, said Lupino.
Like, I've already heard this, like, I should just be able to skip this shit.
Plan that involved geese.
Again, another one of those indie games where it's like, this game's gonna be fine, but forcing me to listen to every goddamn conversation I'm inevitably gonna have to listen to a good few times, because the whole point of this game is to go to one end of the story, go to another, so on and so forth. It's like,
Go ahead. I'm sure you know better.
just let me choose
Said
to skip this
Lupino.
shit.
It would be fun to try out that one. And here was a handy workbench.
You know, like, do I really have to sit and listen to this again?
No sound at all. Where were her guards? Finally, he reached her bedroom. She was curled up on her bed. Oh, he'd forgotten how beautiful she was. How sleek. How soft. He tapped her on the shoulder with his sword.
Oh, you
Now
can't
I
skip
just
it.
wanted some privacy.
Well, you
Renato
can skip
said.
them anyway.
Renato knew she still had feelings for him. Maybe he could just cut to the chase. But was timing right for that? Did you ever wonder why the Emperor adopted you? And he told her why. His Imperial Majesty wanted to bring the lost gods back. They could make him immortal. But to seal the bargain, he needed a sacrifice. Someone who truly loved him. You're lying. She was furious. You can't prove that. I can. And so they set sail for the Nexus.
The Nexus.
The scientists at the observatory have resurrected one of his victims. Well, he's not exactly alive, but it can talk, and it can't lie. You took a big risk. You know, I could just cast a spell to make you tell me where the rebel base is, and
consider that cheating? She frowned. Ugh, fine. Let's go get your witness. The rebellion had started after atrocities that the Empire hushed up. Renato had rescued a priest whose order had been massacred for one book. He had slept in a burnt village. Dead kittens and puppies had come to tell him what the Emperor had done to them.
What's the next one? Great, I'll do the shield
Take a
working one.
leap of faith, said the inscription. Don't be shy.
I can't exactly counter 2 dudes at once, you know. $90? Damn it.
She caught up with him. Don't you think I'd know if my father started practicing black magic? Why?
She
Do
said
you want to
magic.
join in? Oh, no, I'd destroy his books and... all right, I suppose I wouldn't. She stopped, troubled. He ran on. Ooh, sparkly. Thought
Can I just have
Renato.
more void cube, please? I can buy that damn sword.
Renato had been searching for a way to save the rebellion. Lapina wanted to capture and interrogate Zenobia. But if he could show her proof of her father's madness, maybe she would join the
How many
rebellion.
do I need? 12. I need 2 more.
Boy, some people are just liable to explode if you upset them. It was time to make a new sword.
No, it wasn't. Nice all, but I need 2 more void. Give me void.
observatory was a burning hulk. Dead scientists and black feathers everywhere. The Ravens had taken care to burn the reanimated witness to cinders. Zenobia stared around, shocked. The scientists had been neutral. They had no part in the rebellion. "Take me to your council," she said, shaken. "I have things to tell them." It was what Renato had gambled on. The Zenobia would turn against her father once she knew his madness. But the rebel base was secret. Could he really risk taking the Emperor's daughter there, even if she did love him? Renato reached Lapino by Farspeaker Toad, the one creature the Ravens had left alive at the observatory. "I'll meet up with you at the base," Lapino said through the Toad. "Good thinking." Renato gave him the coordinates. "There's a shuttle here I can borrow." Renato found Zenobia in the chart room. "I've been having awful dreams," she said. "Dead kittens and worse. I thought they were only dreams, you know. Why would anyone want the lost gods back? In those days, the favorite of a god could become immortal." She held herself and
What's on
shivered.
Steam with sale? Yu-Gi-Oh!
Wants to
I saw
become
Yu-Gi-Oh!
an eater of souls.
Oh, Yu-Gi-Oh!
Well, I'm
Duel
not
Links.
afraid of
Okay.
dying. Just dying of boredom.
Oh,
Renato said, but
Aspire.
she didn't laugh. Silence fell as they flew towards the ruins of the city of Ubar, where the rebellion leadership was hiding. If Zenobia couldn't help them fight off her
RPG
father,
Maker.
no one could. As they touched the ground, he could smell the ravens and hear their hungry caws in the distance. "They're probably looking for me," she said. "You go on ahead." She had that fiery look in her eyes that he'd always loved. It was a bit odd, though. How easy she'd been to convince. It was what he'd gambled on, but he'd expected more of an argument. She'd always loved to argue. She considered it the fastest way to the truth. Maybe she'd long suspected the truth. Sometimes all it took was taking the bandages from your eyes. That must be it, he told himself. It was time for him to learn something new. He felt bad for people who had to study. This is why heroes are called dashing, Renato thought. See? Dashing? Get it?
Oh, once I open up this door, I'm gonna go pee. Anger management? What? I've now got enough for, I just need to void. No, I'll be fine. Yeah, actually, I will be right back. What's that about? Yeah, so I'll be right back. Okie dokie. Verb. Where was we? Killing things, probably.
want their things broken, they really ought to make them stronger.
Yeah, I need 70, don't I?
Can I borrow that? If Zenobia had really turned, the war could soon be over. She could send orders to the fleet that would leave their defenses wide open. The rebels could sail right in and capture the Emperor. Victory, with not too many casualties. It was good to
Break the
practice your
bloody-
moves, thought Renato. Keeps you limber.
Give me my boy essence. You're really taking the piss, aren't you?
Don't look down, he thought.
I just need to. And then I can open up every door.
A gem of power. You didn't find those every day.
Or wind essence, not void.
This is quite the view, he thought.
Great fight. GG. Crit chance. Where's my blazer? Excuse me. Well, I guess the next thing probably won't raise the hero sword, just to give it the ability
They
that's
caught their
missing.
breath under a ruined arch. It's beautiful, she said. This was the library of Ubar, he said. Your
on my
father's
throat.
ravens thought they had an ancient book.
I think once I'm done with this story, I'll call it very early tonight.
Crying?
Because my
This was
throat's killing
exactly
me.
what I wanted, Renata thought. To turn her to our cause. So, why do I feel something is terribly wrong? Because nothing ever goes this smoothly, is why.
No.
If I craft a sword now, it's going to be really short.
Fuck you, I pushed that way. You piece of shit game.
Renata felt ready to become faster, stronger, bolder. If only he could figure out which. These things really slice like ham. The long stairs. So he was close to the rebel base. He was on fire. So far, so good. If only he had some way to break the ice. Or convince it he was a friend.
Stop giving me energy. Got no fucking health. It's just like, oh, do you need some sword energy? Oh.
Sensed the jewel's power. He had a feeling they were going to be great friends. Council toads swarmed around Zenobia, shocked she was there, shocked she had changed sides. Then the walls exploded. He heard toads croaking, "Oh, the ravens!" Blackbirds were pouring through holes everywhere. "It's a trap!" cried the council speaker. In the confusion, he saw flashes of magic. Then Zenobia being hustled off by Imperial troops. So, she had betrayed him after all. Renata Renato ran for his ship. The Farfarer flew into the clouds, barely losing the Imperial ravens pursuing him. The rebellion was lost, and he had lost it. There was nothing to do but find Zenobia and make her pay for her treachery. His heart ached. He still loved her. But he had trusted her, and he had been a fool. She would be back at the fleet, gloating with her mad, bloodthirsty father. For all Renato knew, she was helping him bring back the old lost gods back from their exile.
Final level.
Renato landed in the middle of the Imperial fleet. The rebels were losing badly. Without leadership, it was a slaughter. Renato felt strangely free, trying not to think about how he had lost the war. Trying not to think about how he had loved Zenobia, blinded himself to her treachery. That's what it meant to be a hero. To keep on fighting after the most bitter of betrayals. To never know if you could trust anyone. Cats, what a waste of fur. The mysterious sword from the east made you so fast you could catch a fly with your chopsticks. If that's what you really wanted.
So I can add what? 4 more bars, so 6 dashes.
That could come in handy in a pinch.
Shield breaker.
He'd once met a pirate captain who used hooks to get around his ship. What was his name again? What had happened to Lupino? Had the mad rabbit fled to safety? Or was he forlornly carrying on like the few rebels Renato could see here or there? Ugh, it didn't matter anymore. All there was slash and spin, parry and lunge, over and over as he fought his way across the fleet. All there was finding the girl he'd once who had used his love against him and putting as big a hole in her heart as she'd left in his. There was an inscription. Praised the sun.
First. No, no, both the ravens. Oh, bull and shit.
And suddenly Zenobia was there, advancing a Lapino. So
The rabbit was the
had
murderer.
survived. Save me, or I'm done for! Screamed Lapino. Zenobia turned, showing her teeth in a smile. You're alive! Renato ran towards the witch. Lapino's the one who betrayed you! She shouted. He warned my father! Renato sank his sword into the witch before she could fool him again. She stared at him, heartbroken. No! Lapino's the traitor! Then he felt a knife in his back. I'm afraid she's right, said the mad rabbit. Ain't I a stinker?
Ain't I a
The
stinker?
sun went out.
Yeah. What's up? Yeah.
Renato stared at the book. He was still alive. Again. And still only flying away from burning Ubar. Had he lived that adventure? Or only dreamt it? Had he really died? It felt so real, not like a dream at all. And he'd lost again. Oh, he hated that. But he had made different choices. And he'd lost in a different way. It was the book, wasn't it? Oracles showed you your destiny. But this was showing him different ways he could die miserably. Thanks a bunch, book, he thought. But these were destinies that he did not have to fulfill. But he'd learned another true thing. Lapino was a traitor. Renato had suspected there was something wrong with the mad rabbit. But now he knew there was malice behind his goofiness. But that meant there must be a destiny where he survived and won, right? Otherwise, what was the point? And with that, the book's pages fluttered back once more to the beginning, and the clouds parted over the Isles of Boreas. It was time to
Oh,
choose.
why can't I see?
The rebellion was in trouble. Ravens were scouting
Oh,
for the
video
secret rebel
games.
base. They needed a game changer. Pieces of the Sky Ripper had surfaced, or so a scholar in the mountains had told him. Surely the weapon that banished the lost gods could defeat the Emperor. Also, a temple had risen out of empty desert. The Emperor had brought the Sky Ripper pieces up out of ancient burial by his obscene rituals. Could this be where the Iblis stone was hidden? Someone better get it before he does, thought Renato. And also, his old friend Lapino needed rescuing. Of course, Renato had a pretty strong suspicion that Lapino had betrayed the rebellion. But could Renato really leave an old friend to the Ravens?
Like I say, I'm gonna leave it there anyway. Also, I'll be back tomorrow with this, but yeah. Me throat killing me. Need to drink some water and shit. But yeah, it's... can't be bothered. I mean, we're doing one game, we started another, so can't complain about that. But yeah, anyway. As always, thank you for coming on. Do appreciate it. Apologies, I'm leaving a little early. Well, I'm not even a little early. About an hour and a half early. Windows noises. Yeah, so let's say I'm back tomorrow. I'll see you then. So yeah, without further ado, see you then. Ta-ra for now. Good night.